Hello. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Yeah, fantastic. I'll do my best to speak nice and clear. Funny thing about that intro, I don't like writing about myself, so I literally asked Gemini to write it for me. So there'll probably be a little bit of fluff in there, but that's what it is. My talk today is not going to be super dev focused. It's more focused around, I guess, an end user using Google Workspace. Who here uses Google Workspace? Okay, a few of you. Fantastic. Alrighty. So I am going to be talking about Gemini in Google Workspace. Funny, I've never heard anyone actually pronounce it as Gemini. But I do appreciate the strangeness of the word. So I do apologize if I do stumble upon my words. Now I am going to give you some real actual demos for our dev environment. I do have a few very simple scenarios that I'm going to go through with you. I'm going to hope that I'm not going to be rehashing anything that you guys have already seen. So what is Gemini for Google Workspace? Well, Gemini for Google Workspace is a suite of powerful AI tools designed to enhance your productivity, collaboration within the Google system apps. So I am talking about Google Docs, Google Sheets, Slides, and Gmail. What you might not know is that currently this has actually been out in the wild for quite a while. Google released what were called Duet AI last year, and then they decided that Duet AI model was not sufficient, and then they made a new one called Gemini. And so it's actually replaced Duet AI. So I'm going to tell you some stats. So far, large organizations that actually use this particular tool in conjunction with their workspace tools, 100% of testers said that Gemini has actually helped them in their day-to-day. It's a pretty bold statement. So I actually think that's very positive when you think about using generative AI tools and how to collaborate. And then 78% of testers said that Gemini would save them around an hour per week. I don't know about you, but an hour per week is a pretty big savings in time. So, you know, some of the areas that you can use this is in customer support, communications, procurement, marketing, client services. There's a whole range of different, I guess, teams within an organization that can actually use this. And there are three main ways of interacting with Gemini in Google Workspace. And the one that you probably know is called gemini.google.com. Okay? I like to think of this one as your thought AI partner. It allows you, just like if you've used ChatGPT, who's used ChatGPT? Probably everyone. Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing, you know. You enter in a prompt, you interact with it, and you get responses. Really good for research and knowledge understanding, helping you make decisions and whatnot. And I'm going to show you some cool features with it. The other two ways that you can interact with Gemini is through what we call Gemini's side panel. It is the little tool that is built into the side of your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, your Slides, and your Gmail, as you can see from the little animation. It's context aware, so you don't have to actually tell it what you're looking at. It already knows what you're looking at. So it's going to be using, I guess, kind of pre-assuming what you're wanting to look at. And there's also one other tool which is called the Help Me Write. This is less contextually aware, but still very helpful if you're just trying to smash out something quite quickly. So why would we want to use Gemini in Google Workspace? Well, two main reasons. One, Google has been a pioneer in AI for a very long time. And I know I'm probably just boasting, you already know all this kind of stuff, but if you look at the history of Google Workspace, or what was it called back in the early days, Google Apps and G Suite, which I never really liked the name of, they have incorporated bits of elements of their AI throughout all of their products. So if you think about when you open up an email and you're drafting that email and it starts pre-guessing those next words that you might use, these are just very different things. And you'll actually notice that if you look at the timeline that you're seeing here, that Google actually contributed to a lot of key, large language models, using DeepMind to help detect eye disease back in 2016, and then all the way up to 2023, which is BARD, and now, of course, you've got Gemini. I want to talk a little bit about security. Security always comes front and center when we are dealing with organizations of any size. The security guy always wants to know, well, how secure is my data? Executives want to know that whatever you're putting in there isn't going to be used. What you'll actually notice here is you've got this border around the edge, the little dotted line here. And so everything inside that border is basically your data in Google Workspace. And so what Google actually do is they build their AI model on the outside, and then they give you sort of like a copy. I don't want to say either copy because I'm not really 100% sure the back-end architectural design on it. But what Gemini will do, what Google will do, is that Google will not and cannot use any prompts or data you feed Gemini to train or keep training their machine learning. So if you're a corporate entity or you're just privacy conscious and you want to know that your data is your data, well, by using Gemini for Google Workspace, you are going to get that. If you have a workspace environment and you've implemented lots of DLPs in your environment, or you have specific sharing structures in place, Gemini will abide by that. So don't worry, if you work in an organization, you can't go and ask Gemini, hey, can you tell me what everyone's pay is? Because Gemini won't be able to tell you that if you don't already have access to that kind of information. Any questions about this before I move on? No? Okay, fantastic. Okay, there is 3 key points I just want to sort of highlight on this particular slide here, is that, A, the privacy is the most important thing. B, it only uses context that you, Gemini works by only using your context to provide response to your prompts and not using it to train or improve their own model. And the last thing, Gemini works on the same infrastructure that Google Workspace runs on. So if you're looking for ISO 27001 compliance, all those kinds of things, if your workspace environment's already been cleared from a security point of view or a SOC point of view, this particular Gemini already meets all those standards as well. So, yeah.
So the training of the foundation models, until when? Is a current one up to yesterday?
So Gemini is constantly being updated, so I can't really say what the cutoff date is. There is some, in my demo I'll show you, you can actually ask Gemini to go and search the web and pull information back. Okay, but probably one of the most unique things about Gemini for Workspace is that you don't really have to go, oh, we only know knowledge of the world up until 2007 or whatever year they choose to cut it off. So you can actually ask it to go and query additional things. It's just a rehash of what I've already spoken about, but it just gives you an idea of more of what it can and can't do, particularly around data access and data protection. All right, prompting in Gemini. Now, I actually found your talk this morning very useful about prompt engineering or prompt hacking. Something that is actually a bit of a skill to learn, especially if you're trying to educate users on using large language model, is understanding how to write a good prompt. And Google actually have a really nice little white paper on this that you can find online. And I've taken this information from that. But if you can break it down into basically 4 main components, and that's persona, the context, task, and the format. So whenever you're trying to interact with Gemini, particularly in Google Workspace, tell it what you want it to be. So in this case, you are a new business account executive. Draft a door opener email to another executive, business name, whatever, based on challenges, blah, 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 and then quarters, and limit it to 250 characters. You're going to get a far better response than just asking it, draft an email to this person. Okay? You're giving it much more context. So if you can remember those 3 things, who do you want the person to be, what do you want it to do, and what format, you'll get a much better response. All right, so on to some fun things, some actual demos. Okay, so the demo I'm going to be doing this today, because I realize most of you are technical type people. Yeah, I'm about to push something onto the screen. Thank you for that. Is a product manager, okay? I'll just set this is basically a software company that has a popular, oops, that's the wrong use case. That's the use case I want. Okay, it is a startup company experiencing explosive growth in their mobile payment app and it gaining in popularity. So I've got 3 particular scenarios where I'm going to actually show you how this can actually work. Okay, so as the product engineering person, we've got a document here where we actually have 3 particular features that we really want to accelerate. One is a peer-to-peer, one is an in-app loyalty program, and the other one is an investment saving tools. And Natasha, I call her Natasha, she is concerned that demand is searching. So the whole point of this demo is to paint you a bit of a picture of how a day-to-day person would actually use Gemini within the Google Workspace environment, and how this particular type of person could use the tools. So they're nervous that demand is searching and they need to accelerate their 3 features on their roadmap. And so these are the 3 features. So Natasha needs to actually write a compelling announcement email to the upcoming features for investors. So I've got this document here and I want to draft an email specifically, and maybe I want to work on it some more. So Natasha is going to open up a new document. And I'm actually going to use, you can see here, the help me write. There's the 3 ways you can interact with Gemini through the help me write and the little tool here called the side panel. I'm actually going to use the side panel for this. And the reason being is I've got my document about the 3 points. It's got lots of information in there. Sure, I could copy and paste this into ChatGPT or some other tool to help me draft this email, but there's actually a better way. And so I'm going to come into here and I'm going to, rather than me hand typing all this, which would just chew up heaps of time, I'm actually going to ask it to show you 2 different examples. Help me write. So I've pre-written a prompt here, and it just helped me write a compelling announcement email to the upcoming features tailored to investors: 1, peer-to-peer, 2, in-app loyalty, and 3, investments. Click generate. And here you can see it already knows that I wanted an email template, which is quite cool. We've got the email specifically ready for me to start working on. If I can have a bit of a read of that, I can refine it. I can change the tone of it as well. I can use the 2 basic ones here, formal and casual. I played around with other tones like make it more fun, make it more exciting, energy, other types of buzzwords that you can use. Just going to insert that. And then if I'm happy with that email, I can just punch in the email addresses here and then click that, and it will immediately send it to Gmail, ready to actually be sent to the clients. Okay, she then realizes that she needs to actually summarize the key risks and dependencies for each of the particular features. So we've got our features, we get our features here. We've got some basic timelines, basic metrics, but we don't really have any risk associated with it. So let's go ahead and actually draft another document. And I am actually going to use the side panel this time. There's a cool little feature where you can actually type the @ symbol and then type in the name of the file you're looking for. So here you can actually see it looking up my Google Drive to actually find various files, which is super helpful. But if you have it, if you've got a URL even, or just a shortcut, so what I'm actually about to copy you actually already has the file URL embedded into that link there. I've got here, can you review the following file and summarize key risk and dependency for each feature based on market trends? Now, normally this would take me, a day, maybe two, to actually sit there and think about it. Now I can have Gemini do the hard work for me and then use it more of a reflective, go, is that actually relevant? Have I missed anything? Those types of things. Okay, so we get this nice big long reply. I can review it here, and of course I can insert it straight away into the document. And if you actually look at it closely, it actually did a pretty good job of it. We've got here risk, market saturation with peer-to-peer payment solutions could limit adoption, security vulnerabilities or high-profile breaches. We can get Gemini to actually be more specific by that. We can ask it to rewrite section. Yep.
What happens if we can we ask it from there to like fix up the spelling or like personalize and stuff like that?
Yep, you certainly can. You can give it more instruction to be, like use Australian language, or use, you can ask it to do it in another language as well. And of course, if you don't like something, you can actually go ahead and highlight it. One thing I should mention, this is my dev environment and it is all set to American by default. I haven't never actually bothered to change it to English Australian, but I can actually ask it to rewrite or expand a particular section as well. Okay, so I also need to actually put together a slide pitch. Who here likes making slide decks? Nobody? Oh, one. I, for one, am certainly not really much of a slide person. So I'm going to show you how you can actually use Gemini to speed this whole process up. I've got part of a slide presentation I started working on, but I've just realized that I don't have an intro page, and I actually don't have the first phase in here either. So I'm actually going to ask Gemini to create one. If I can find my mouse. Okay, so using the same technique as before, I'm actually just going to ask it to look at our product roadmap acceleration document. Slide pitch. And I said, using this particular document, can you please create a slide that focuses on feature 1? Hopefully this works. It worked last night. This will go and, of course, look at the document, pull out the relevant information, and then hopefully create a slide that makes sense. And there we go. It didn't quite get the heading right, but it sort of got it wrong, probably because I used the word feature and not phase 1, but we'll just insert that anyway. Okay, I can then just reorder this. So Gemini created this entirely from scratch. Even these images are all generated by itself. Okay, and the last thing is I also need an intro slide. So I'm actually going to tell it to look at the document. And I'm just going to say, hey, make me an intro slide. So it's going to use the information that's in the 3 slides and now create another slide for it. Now this feature isn't out yet, but it is coming soon, I believe later this year, but you will actually be able to ask Gemini to create an entire presentation from a particular document or a video. We can hit insert. So it got the intro pretty correct. Intro is a 3-phase approach to accelerate our product roadmap. So that's a nice simple way of it just showing you how you can actually speed up. Now that docs, I've spent a lot of time in docs and slides, and I've got one more to show you. Okay. Yep. Yes, they're all AI generated. Something I didn't show you. So if you want, you can ask it to create a new image. Create a car image for car image, and we'll just do car image. You can tell I'm not very creative. You can feed it images. Is that what you're asking? You're asking if you can say, hey, here's my image, can you put that on this? Yeah, you can do that. I've had hit and miss success with it. Gemini currently does not like people or anything to do with personal identifiable information. So if you're trying to ask it, hey, create me, take this image of a person and put them in this particular photo, it will just flat out say no. I think the main reason for that, a couple of things that I did forget to mention is that anything that you create in Gemini for Google Workspace, Google will protect you from indemnity. So you technically cannot be sued for using their tool to create any kind of artwork or any kind of stuff, which is actually pretty important to a lot of corporate organizations. Yep. No, both. Yeah, both. Okay, so here you can see a number of different cars. I can just simply click on that and insert that and then work with that image if you want. Sorry?
You have a family photos, they are your photos. Can you be anything?
No, Google will just flat out reject it. Yeah. So I've done it in the past. I've even tried to blackmail it, say, I'm offended by the fact that you won't use my image for this reason. It just doesn't work. Google's done a very good job of that, which I think really puts a lot of people at ease in terms of when you think about AI safety. So there's an image. One of the other really cool features. So it will be able to do style. You can actually say, based on the style of this slide, generate something similar. You definitely do that. So how many times you've got an image and you're like, I like that image, but I wish it didn't have a background? Well, luckily, Gemini got you covered. We can click on the image and click on this one. And I can click on remove background. And there you go. I now have a nice little image that I can actually drag around without any background. Okay, so I'm slightly sheepish to show Google Sheets, especially after everyone's just been wowed by the fact that we have AI in the cells. But I'm going to attempt to try and wow you, but it's not going to be anywhere near as impressive as what we've just seen. Of course, you've got Gemini in Google Sheets as well. So now I'm going to the engineering manager. The person believes this is ambitious and wants to create a sprint plan to help focus on efficient development. So we're actually just going to generate a simple sprint table. So I'm going to click on my little Help Me Organize button. This allows you to actually create, I guess you could call it a template that is actually relevant to the information that you provided. So in this particular example, I'm going to ask it to create a sprint goal document with placeholders for key milestones, and the goal is peer-to-peer. So if you're like me and you get given a project and then you're like, oh, I have to actually figure out what steps go where, I always start here. It at least gives you a starting point, which is a huge time saver. And it's done a pretty good job from what I can see. We've got the various sprint stages in this particular document. We even have a little drop down. We've got some placeholder dates that we can play around with. And it's got some key milestones in there as well. Yeah, it's a good question. That's where you would actually use the third tool. So I've shown you what we call the side panel and the help me write, which is in every single document. So help me organize, help me write, the side panel. And then the last one, which is probably what you're a bit more used to, is gemini.google.com. A key factor point here, just so you're aware, this Gemini.google.com is technically a separate product to the Workspace environment, although you are still covered under all the same terms of service if you use Google Workspace. As you can see here, this is my dev account, so Gemini for dialogue. If you went to this on your Gmail at home, or if your organization hasn't actually disabled this specific app, but you don't have a license, you'll have a nice big banner there to let you know that any data you enter into here can be used for training purposes. I don't have that banner here because this is a licensed environment, and all the data that's entered into this environment aren't used to train for any of their model improvements. So this is what I would actually consider your companion, where you would say you're working on something consistently, you're working on it, but let's say you were doing it in a Google Doc. Remember I said that Google Docs, when you open up the side panel, is contextually aware. So if I asked it a question in here that the document's not related to, Gemini will tell me, I can't find any information in here about that. Okay, but I can then ask it to go and search the web. So for example, I'll just put something in really random in here. How does coffee play into this roadmap? It should give me the response I just told you about. Coffee does not play a role in this roadmap. It's contextually aware of what you're actually looking at, okay? But there's this cool little button here that is retry with the Google search, okay? So if I were creating a document that I was maybe doing some research about another competitor, and I wanted to incorporate some information about another competitor, it might be looking at my document and say, well, you haven't talked about that particular competitor. So, what do you want me to do? I can actually ask it, well, go on a web and find me information so I can use that into my document. Okay. Yep, I'll show you what it's like. We can just click here. It's going to come up with some rubbish because I've, coffee roadmap, and then I've got a product roadmap here. And you can clearly see I don't have enough information about the roadmap to help you with your request. And it's literally because I've fed it nonsense. But if you had something a bit more tangible in it, we could definitely make it do that as well. Sorry?
Can you ask it why it used to cover presentation?
Yes, you can. Ask it. Can I ask? Sorry, I missed that bit. Can I?
Can you ask it why it used the copycat presentation?
Why it used? Yes. So you're talking about in the slide pitch?
Yes.
That is, I could actually potentially ask it. I haven't actually tried that. But before I go too far deviating with showing you what it can and can't do, I'll just loop back to, I want to finish showing you Gemini because I've got some cool features in here. So now I'm going to show you how you can use Gemini as a research component, and I'm going to use that technique of where you prompt hacking, let's call it that, and we're going to put it into here to say. So I've got a little prompt here that I've already written. And so I'm just a market research. I want it to do some market research for me. You are a market research person. We are Comment Innovations, and we have a disruptive fintech startup to create a mobile payment that is gaining in popularity. We need to do some market research to tell us how our competitors are using peer-to-peer. And you can see it actually asks, Yeah, it's actually, so this one actually did a straightforward job. Last night when I was actually testing it, it actually asked me in the conversation, absolutely, to give you the most accurate and actionable market research, I'll need a bit more information. So then it's asked me, can I give it some extra information? Whereas today, it's given me a slightly different response. It's actually gone ahead and given me some information here. I can then ask it further information, but my most favorite feature within this is the ability to double check the response. We know AI can hallucinate, but Google built in this really cool tool where you can actually say, okay, you've generated this, but can you go and actually look at the information you've generated and tell me what is actually accurate? So anything green or yellow, like green means good, yellow means not sure, clear white means it's probably made up stuff. But here you can actually see exactly where it got the information from. So it's a really good way of sort of, I guess, helping an end user who is not necessarily tech savvy, doesn't necessarily know to watch out for hallucinations or watch out for garbage. We all know that people get lazy, especially when someone else is doing all the hard work. You can use this to help validate what you're looking for. So in my example yesterday, where I was going through and it said, hey, these are the target markets. What do you want to actually look into? And I said, okay, our target market is Gen Z. And then it gave me a list of competitors that supposedly play in that space. Lost my mouse again. Okay, that's it for my demo, so to speak. Does anyone have any questions around Google Workspace or a Gemini in Workspace? Yeah.
How does it deal with terms like ambiguous terms?
It deals with them pretty well. I find though you will sometimes get rubbish, and that's because it might not have enough context. So that's why we sort of try, like if you're going to use these kind of tools, you really need to hone in on that prompt understanding and learning how to, I don't want to say speak computer language, but you're speaking a large language model. The one thing I've discovered particularly interesting, especially in this particular space, if I ask it how many R's are in strawberries, what answer do you think it's going to give? It should be 3, but it actually gives me an answer of 2. When I ask it to explain why, it's because it breaks up the word in straw and berry, and it says, well, there's 2. But when I say, can you count the number of R's in strawberries, it gives me the correct answer. But when I was going back to my first prompt and trying to really understand why they're actually coming up with this, and I asked it more questions, why do you think this? And it would give me, oh, actually, no, you're right. It actually has 4 R's in strawberries. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. And I said, no, it's 3 R's. And it said, you're absolutely right, there's 3 R's in strawberries. And then I realized that reply seemed oddly suspicious. So I said, nope, you are incorrect. I just double checked, it's 6 R's in strawberries. And it said, oh, you're absolutely right, there are 6 R's in strawberries. So whilst MMLs are designed to help you, you need to be aware that it's going to believe you over anything else, okay? So just remember, if you put in rubbish, you're going to get rubbish back. If you put in high quality context, you're going to get high quality results back. If there's no more questions, that's it for me.
Peter, I had one quick question for you, just while we're getting Carsten set up. Where do you see this stuff going? Like, what do you think is the objective here? What's the ultimate goal going to be? Because a lot of this is really early. I'm interested in what you think their vision is.
Yeah. So if we're talking specifically about Google, Google's vision isn't really around, replacing anyone, so to speak. Their vision is really around improving productivity. So Google's always had a mantra that it's all about that 10x factor. How can we save time? How can we accelerate things? So I really see this technology becoming an enhancement, kind of like your talk where you showed how we were able to supercharge a very tedious workflow and then make it useful. tend to find, you know, maybe down the track, who here is a Star Trek fan? 1, 2, 3, okay. I definitely see it getting to a point where we might do a lot less actual hard coding or programming ourselves and a bit more natural talking. So you might actually say, hey, computer, I need a model that is going to show me X and Y. And then it goes and does it, and then you say, that's good, but can you make that more rounder or less rounder or so forth. If you're into 3D printing or anything like that, I've seen some fascinating workflows where you know, 3D printing people are literally just describing the object that they want to create out loud. The large language model is intelligent enough to know exactly what it's after, converts it into a workflow, creates the actual model, sends it to the printer, and prints the object straight away. So I think we're actually going to see an acceleration in that space.